Hey, it's the Scotch Test Dummies, and we're fresh off a trip from Ireland.
Fresh from Ireland.
Visited a distillery called Waterford.
And we're going to test it biodynamic style.
Irish whiskey style. All right. Full disclosure.
Yes.
Waterford paid for our way to go over to Waterford, Ireland. Waterford did pay for our way over. They put us up. They gave us a nice in-depth look at the facilities over there. Mm-hmm. We have full editorial control. They did not tell us what to say.
Matter of fact, gave us free reign, said go where you want to go.
Yeah.
Said as long as you don't hurt yourself or need a hard hat.
Said you can film wherever you want. You can take pictures wherever you want.
And even in the the tasting lab, they said if there's a sample bottle anywhere on here, pick it out, taste it. It wasn't.
Well, there was a couple that Ned wouldn't let us. He was like, except for those.
Well, there were some you couldn't
there.
film, right?
Yeah.
Because they were secret.
Yeah.
So it was like 2 out of 1,000 or something.
Yeah,
He was like, "Don't pull those 2 down." And I'm like, "Are they peated?" Everything's got to be peated for me. He's like, "Just don't pull those 2 down." He wouldn't even confirm or deny anything. Okay, so
So Mark Reynier,
right,
was the master distiller at Bruichladdich for years.
Whew, love that.
Actually turned him around.
Well,
came in,
opened the whole thing, and
yeah,
brought it back from ancient times,
from
antique.
Yeah. And there, Mark started to do a couple things with individual farms. We saw, like the beer barley,
the Isla
barley,
the Port Charlotte I love there's an Isla version in the Scottish.
Yeah,
right.
Mark Reynier started Waterford. He goes to Ireland, starts Waterford Distillery.
Used to be a Jameson brewery.
With some financial backers, we know.
Sure.
With the intent, totally terroir based.
Well, the Holy Trinity. Do you remember the Holy Trinity? It's terroir, transparency,
and traceability.
Yes,
yeah.
I know.
Traceability was the one I couldn't.
I know. That's the one you're like, and we'll cover more on that later.
Yeah.
We didn't even have that in the notes.
No.
But
so anyway, with the terroir, he wants to showcase how barley grown on this part of the island is different than barley grown over here.
Right. Farm to farm's different. The grain, the barley is kept separate so it can be traceable. Mm-hmm. So
they have they call it a passport.
Yes.
They go around each farmer has his own passport.
Looks like a high school yearbook. Even.
Really for each crop.
Yeah.
So if that farmer has a crop in 2015, the passport shows when it was planted, when it was harvested, mm-hmm. when it was when it was malted, how many
fertilizers, or if it's organic, none are listed there.
Everything's in there. It was very neat to see that aspect of it.
Because I was like, what are those? They look like yearbooks, and they were like, pull one down.
Yeah.
And Ned was like, you don't even need the step stool to get it.
Yeah.
I was like, hire me. I can be your high reacher. All right, so we'll get more into that in a second because that was in their little lab room, so we can come back to that little deal.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with the first day we're there. We're still a little jet laggy. And they said, we thought it might be fun to run you through an area of what was an old brewery that was there. Mm-hmm. They even had some college professor and his students come in to study the architecture because it used wood joiners and all this kind of stuff.
I think there's been a lot of people interested in the architecture of the original building.
Not what becomes the Guinness distillery, but it's part of the same complex there. And they had to preserve that.
I want to say 1792.
I know, that was 17-something.
1780s or 1790s when it was built.
It was preserved nicely.
Yeah, it's still been preserved. Actually, they had been using it up until only a few years ago. Guinness had been still for part of their...
For some things, I think.
Yeah.
And Eamon showed us through that.
The tour guide.
Now, I love Eamon because Eamon is retired. We call him law enforcement officer. They call him guards.
Yeah.
Which threw me. They call them guards. Mm-hmm. They're not armed, or some of them are. But he did how many years? 30? 32?
I don't remember.
He didn't even look that old.
Yeah.
So he'd retired with at least 30 years service and was now working as kind of like security, and he checked you in and you signed the book when he came in and he gave us that little tour. Mm-hmm. Sorry. I like that part with Eamon. He found out we were LEO and so was he, and we were like, we had a little thing. Sorry.
What I like too, though, the original water well that they were using from the 1780s or 1790s, they still use. It's the same water well.
Yep.
I think a different pumping mechanism.
I'm sure. There's no bucket.
Right. It wasn't hand drawn.
It was capped and just to keep stuff from going in.
Now, what I don't know if in 1792, if that was Guinness or if it was just a brewery that was later bought by Guinness. I don't remember.
I would like to say not, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know how long
we know
Guinness
the big Guinness, the professionally done brewery part, which was all kind of pre-made and ready for them to go in and just drop stills in. I thought that was built, if memory serves, in like 2000, and Mark was able to buy it in 2014. I could be off on the 2000.
I don't remember the exact dates on it either.
But
yeah, Guinness comes in, buys the old brewery, or is part of the old brewery. They build a new giant building to make Guinness in.
Top notch.
Guinness.
Trackable by computer.
Several years ago, Guinness had to downsize.
Yeah, they'd had 3 breweries around Ireland, and they consolidated them all into the one in Dublin. Shuttered the other ones, and boom, Mark was in.
Yeah.
So we
came in. They said it was shut down for literally just like a few months. And then Mark Reynier had found out about it and snatched it up. Was able to just swap out some of the Guinness equipment for whiskey stilling equipment. Was up and running.
Yeah, because you basically are making a beer and then you're distilling that. So yeah.
So Amon.
I know.
Eamon shows us around. He gives us a tour of the old site. Then we meet Neil, the head brewer. Neil walks us through. They had a nice little diagram up on the wall just inside the distillery that kind of went through the steps. Showed you kind of how each farm is harvested, how the barley's grown, that's taken by the truck to the malt
separated.
Yeah.
Right, or not where it's separated, because it's always kept separate. Where it's stored separately so that they can, again, have the traceability.
Do they call it the cathedral? We did not get to go there. We ran out of time.
Yeah, I think that was, and Mark had a great story about an abbot or a monk that was killed there by Vikings back in the day. That's why they called it. It was in that area, I guess, or right there.
But yeah, I believe it's the cathedral. There they have separate bins, and I think there's up to 100 separate bins. So they bring in a farmer's barley, and they can store it there in these separate deals. And at first, people were like, "You're crazy."
Well, Grace said the farmers would be like, "What a waste of space."
Yeah, just combine that.
Yeah,
into
he
a
was
big
like,
pile.
"No, that's what we're trying to do is keep them separate so we can track what flavor profile we get from farm A and then farm B."
Yeah.
But they go beyond that. It's the name of the farmer, Seamus Duggan, and they know everything about that year and that grain. So,
but Neil leads us through that. Then he takes us
in.
In fact, they were finishing up. The stills were running. The
new make,
the mash tuns were done, but they clean all that out after each farm.
So it's all cleaned out.
So they were in the process, and the filters and stuff that they use from the wash tubs.
Right, the new make was coming
everything.
out, and we were at a fortunate time because he was able to reach in there, capture a little bit. So you want to try that right off the still. Yeah, I never had new make right off the still like that. I've had new make, and I kind of call me crazy, I like some new make.
Well, I'm going to have to look in the pictures and see if I have a picture of which farm it was they were distilling while we were there. They got
this neat thing that I'd seen on the Waterford webpage, and I didn't quite know what I was looking at. It's a photo, actually. There's this huge, metallic wall. So if you're looking at the spirit safe where the whiskey's coming in the back is this huge metallic wall and these giant circles that are magnetized for where the region is, and they
Where the
light
farm
up.
is, yeah.
Where the farm is. And when that's the farm's grain that's being distilled, it lights up.
Yeah.
Blue.
Yeah, and it had the name of the farm.
And the name of
on
the
there.
farmer, or
So there was just one light on
Yes.
when we were there.
and they're like, that's this liquid, this spirit is from, I can't remember whose.
Yeah. I want to say
farm.
Miller, but I
Okay.
don't remember if that's right or not.
Yeah.
I'll see if I've got
And I was like, oh, I saw this picture. I didn't know how grand this wall was when I saw the picture on the website. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're
As
looking
soon
at
as I
like
saw it in the still room,
30
I was like, oh, that's
feet
what
by
that
30
picture is.
feet, and you're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
like Ireland, and you've got the farms in their place, and that one lit up as the guy's grain who's being distilled right now. So that was neat. We were able to sample that. And then even right there was a, I can't remember the name of the farmer, but there was a Biodynamic new make there to kind of compare and contrast.
Yep.
So that one was just sitting there,
Yep.
tasted the two of those.
Dashboard. So what the guys do is they look for the legs on the glass. Yeah. Right. Okay. And then they nose it. Right. For 71%, it's not overbearing. It's light enough for a new make spirit. And then they taste.
Yeah. And what surprised me was the biodynamic was different. I mean, you could tell the difference between the farm that was currently in the process of being distilled and then the biodynamic. new
And
make.
later we are in the lab
Completely
where they've
different.
got hundreds of bottles of different new make, and even ones that have been in barrels for different, lengths of time from different farms. So, and
Well, that's where we're moving on to
Right.
after Neil.
Right.
We meet Ned. Well,
Ned.
we went to lunch, and
Right.
Ned, we meet the head,
distiller.
not master.
No, I said that in the live, and he corrected me promptly. I
not a
am
master
not
distiller.
a master distiller.
Ned.
Yeah, I'm Ned, the head distiller.
Head distiller.
Because I saw your live. Please don't call me master distiller, head distiller. So if you've seen that video, he's corrected me on that. Thank you, Ned.
But Ned takes us to the tasting room where they have
Like the
samples,
lab, yeah.
hundreds of bottles of samples, probably like 4 or 5, 6 ounce sample bottles, each one labeled. They've got different caskings that are going. And they're going to use 4 different cask
My
types.
legs, I'll show you right here. So basically, this
Oh yeah,
kind of bottle is sitting there, and it may be this color or whatever, because they're working with. We'll cover it later. 4 different types of wood.
right now.
Okay, so a farm, and I'll see if I can remember the percentages of farms.
I don't think
new
we've,
make.
I don't think we've said each farm will do 100 tons of barley. That's what they
Beautiful.
will still.
Yes.
And I forget how many overall barrels that results from that. Was 100 and
I don't remember total
300.
barrels, but so not only do you have grain, new make from different farms, then they're put into 4 different cast types with some little wild different ones that come through, some of which we don't know which, but
I have a picture in the warehouse of these like black and red barrels. I've never seen
I know
them
those
before.
are cool. I asked him.
And Ned
It's
said
a
he
good
would have
picture.
to go look.
Yeah, and see
he
what
could
it-
track it down and see what
Yeah.
it was. He didn't know offhand.
Yep.
He could go to their book and look and find out what kind of wine those
Yeah, because we're like, why are these?
He knew they
these
were
barrels
wine.
are cool, yeah.
wine barrels. But
So, but while we're first in there, all we try are new make at first. They had not been in any barrels, and Ned was real cool. He said, hey, taste these separately. Do me a favor. Don't necessarily try to pick out, a little bit of hint of this, a hint of that. Just see if you can tell if they're different. If they're different, or do they all taste the same? And then come back, and if you can pick up different flavor notes, great. But just kind of compare and contrast. Were those, and he said you can pull down other new makes. There was a whole shelf of new make stuff. He's like, you can pull down any you want, try them, just in case you think I've staged these. Name one, pull down a new make. And we're like, okay. What did you get?
for the most part, I'm not a new make fan. A couple of them I could not tell too much difference. I could tell the biodynamic. It was
Yes.
it was drastically
It was,
different.
like, distinctly different.
And there are 3 farms to the south of the 3 farthest south farms. Neil had told us that their new make will produce more of that Irish tropical fruity style new make, and I got it in one of those farms new makes. I could taste.
So I missed that one. So Neil told you that when we were doing the tour.
Yeah.
So I can say you're right. Some of them were very close, and I couldn't necessarily, but then there was definitely the Biodynamic. It was I even said, this is so smooth. It doesn't have, I've tried a lot of different new makes or white lightnings, and I was like, that's awful smooth.
White lightnings?
Yeah, I like.
I haven't heard white lightning.
I like to call
white
them
dogs.
white lightnings. I like to call them
Now,
white lightnings.
Real quick, because some people
that's corn liquor. So.
Some people are wondering what Biodynamic is.
Got it. It's a little different.
Yeah.
So you had regular farms that are using pesticides and fertilizers and stuff, and all that's tracked on the field. Then you had organic farms that were using more natural means, natural fertilizers. They're not using pesticides at all, and all that's listed. Then you had, and we didn't go to an organic or a biodynamic, but then you had biodynamic farms that are like the crops are planted in accordance with the moon, and the land will tell you what it's going to do in that area, and you're going to rotate crops, and you may have an orchard over here, and you may be using sheep and cows, and that's where you're using that as fertilizer. And that all is like Rudolf Steiner's deal.
I think some of it was like high tide and low tide.
Yeah, there's a lot of
and harvesting stuff.
Horns.
Well, yeah, they're also planting, horns, bones, or hooves and stuff in the ground.
Yeah,
and
different stuff. We didn't go out to one of those.
In the horn, stuff like that.
Yeah. It was like a holistic.
It's like organic on steroids.
Right. I almost joked it felt a little hearing again, we didn't go to a biodynamic farm, but it was like it felt a little hippie-ish. Like a 60s, it would have been like, oh yeah, biodynamic. But what stunned me was
nothing against hippies.
Nothing at all. Very peaceful, lovely people, and I love the multiple colors, as you would suspect. What was amazing was the biodynamic new make I really liked. It felt softer and earthier and already smooth. It didn't have as much of the new make bite to it. So I was like,
good description. That's right.
I was like, there's distinct differences. Yeah. So all right. So that's the sample room. Where do we go after that?
But we also do the white dogs or the new make spirit. But we also taste different casks.
You don't want to use White Lightning?
We taste first fill ex bourbon. We taste new or virgin oak. We taste the premium
premium French
oaks.
Yes,
and we try some of the VDNs and different ones.
And
I even said what we need is a Marsala. Ned goes.
Oh yeah, he goes.
Marsala.
Oh, you're like, I'm partial to Marsala, and he goes,
Marsala
try that one, and you're like, what? Mine was like, really?
Yeah.
And then the idea is that not only are you getting different flavor profiles from the grains from the different farms, or the grain, the barley from the different farms, now you've got different flavorings from high quality casks of 4 different types. The idea being, think if you're a chef and you're working with fine quality ingredients, and you want to say, I want to make a dish like this, you can grab a pinch of that, throw it in, pinch of this, and I want to use this biodynamic barley, boom, and now you're playing with iterations that you can make of flavor profiles. And I could see right there where it's going.
So what they will not do, though, what they're not going to do are single cask releases. They're going to do, it'll be a single farm. So
yes, that was cool. Single malt, single farm.
Single malt, single farm. But they may blend virgin oak with ex-bourbon with a Oloroso sherry cask.
Because it's the single farm in 4 different types of wood.
Yeah.
So they can play. And And there's talk that they'll probably have 2 different farms that have a pretty different tasting profile that they can put out there as kind of maybe when they're ready, their first.
Like a 2-pack? So
I think so. I don't know if it's a 2-pack or it's just 2 different. But yeah, they talked about that. I love that idea.
Now, so they have been distilling for 3.5 years. They have some whiskey that's 3.5 years old, but they're not ready to put anything out yet. They want to wait another 3 to 4 years.
And they're trying to hit 1 million liters a year. They haven't hit that exactly every year, but and they've got the warehouse space, and they were building a new warehouse when we were out there. We'll get to that in a bit.
So after we get done in the tasting room, we go to the cellar.
A place called the Cellars is mentioned. I'm like, oh, that already sounds good.
Yeah.
Then a weird term.
Blood tubs.
Blood tubs ends up being my favorite phrase for a barrel. So they're like, we're going to go down to the cellars and we're going to sample from a blood tub. And I'm like, I'm like, what? Blood tub?
Just a nickname.
Yeah. And then they're like, it's a nickname. We always put some of the smaller casks down in the cellar. We know it's not going to be the same from what's in the warehouse, but it allows us to at least go down there and sample in that smaller cask and maybe see how a certain spirit is acting. And they kept saying, we know it's not the same. They will go out to the warehouse where the full barrels are and sample, but the tubs, the blood tubs, are right there. And Ned said he'll go down and fill a sample like this. It's cooler down there, temperature-wise, so he said he would usually bring that up, let that sit for a few hours or maybe overnight up in the lab, and then the next morning he might be tasting them and just seeing kind of how's that working in the blood tubs in the cellar, which was neat. So we go down there, and that is where we even get to sample a few things.
Yeah, and we shot some video. If I have something usable, we'll input it right
You
here.
have phenomenal photos, too.
So we're in the cellar at the Waterford Distillery here. So what we have here is blood tubs. So they're 35 litre casks, or 9 gallons, I think we were talking about. So they're made from ex-bourbon casks. So 200 litres are 53 gallon casks, and broken down to make it the blood tubs. And what we do with these is we fill at least one of these per farm. So we have used to date probably 72 different farms. So each year we would use 40 different farmers, conventional, organic farms and biodynamic, and we fill these then and we monitor them to see how they're maturing. So with the smaller casks, there's a bit more wood contact, and it'll mature a little bit faster.
We love the term blood tubs.
Blood tubs,
And
yes.
this comes from the old...
Yeah, so there's a few different stories, but the story I'm going with anyway is years ago when they would have been slaughtering pigs and stuff, they would collect the blood into something like this size, and donkeys and horses could transport it then one on either side, as you know, like maybe a pack mule or something like that. So yeah, I think that's kind of where it comes from. There's a few other things, but that's the one.
Now, what's the purpose though of using these and having these on site here?
Yeah.
Because this is going to show different than what the big cask.
So yeah, they show differently. So it's just to see how they mature. It'll give us an idea maybe how the casks will mature out in Ballygarn, which is about 10 miles away. It's a purpose-built warehouse. And each farm is filled roughly the same. So 50% of a farm will go into a 200 litre American first fill. 20% will go into an American virgin cask. 15% will go into a French premium cask, or red wine cask. And the other 15% goes into what we call VDN, or Vin du Natural. So those are sweet fortified wines, sherry, port, Madeira. What did you have yesterday? Marsala, yeah. And you like that one? Yeah.
He just likes the way it's
Marsala. Yeah. So the idea of having them here is just pop down every so often, open it up, have a taste, and kind of it's about 2.5 years, I suppose, for a cask. So in a year's time, it'd probably be 2.5 years equivalent in the smaller casks, something like that.
More surface area because
Yeah.
smaller cast,
Smaller
so you're
cast.
able to kind of get a little, like a tip off of
Yeah,
what's
exactly,
maybe
yeah.
happening.
And the other thing is we fill all our casks at full strength. So if we send a tanker out to Ballygarn at 72% or 71.54, it'll go into the cask at that, and same with the blood tub. So you can see there's a bit of the char in there as well in that. So ladies first.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have to get that fibre off you later.
That's right.
That one is aging very nicely. Ooh, a lot of powdered sugar, a lot of spun sugar, sweetness. If we had something usable, you just saw it. If not, you're still seeing us.
But you at least saw some great still shots. Probably one of my favorite still shots you took there was Grace was just setting down glasses.
She brought down glasses for us to
And
use.
she's
It
just
was
setting it
I
on
just
a
happened
barrel.
to flip around. I was like, cha-ching.
Yeah, and your lighting looked
And
like studio lighting.
Just happened to be a good picture.
Phenomenal picture, not good. It was, you were like, whoa. I mean, you were like, wow, that's a good shot. All right, so we're at the blood tubs, which you have on there. We'll talk a lot more on this later, but we had requested before we ever even left the States, hey, we'd like to get out to a farm, talk to a farmer. My grandparent, I got an uncle that's a farmer, and I was like, I'd really like to get out and meet an Irish farmer that's doing this grain experiment for a distillery. So we talked to
Seamus Duggan.
Seamus Duggan.
I always wanted to meet a Seamus.
Yeah, I know.
Seamus is
You
Irish
even said
for
that. You're
James.
like, yeah, and didn't seem to match up Seamus and James. I'm like,
Yeah.
how'd that happen?
I don't know.
He just said it means James, basically.
But we do have a video, an interview with Seamus, and then we go to his farmhouse and we do a little blending class there with
Yes.
just his whiskey from his farm.
Yes.
Actually, it's not even whiskey because I don't think it was
Right,
3
it
years
wasn't
old
whiskey
yet.
yet. It wasn't old enough. But
It's
it's
spirit.
his grain, yeah.
And,
His barley.
Ned brought out 4 different caskings. I mean, he brought some of the ex-bourbon, he brought the virgin oak, he brought
There's 4 of
the
each.
premium,
Yeah.
from 4 different casks from each barrel type.
All from Seamus's farm.
The last thing we get to do is we actually get to go visit the warehouses.
Right. We do have
They
an
have-
interview with Mark
Well-
later, but yeah, we go to the warehouse.
We go to the warehouses. They have 4 right now that are almost full.
Mm-hmm.
So they take one, say they get Seamus Duggan's farm.
Right.
They're putting 25% of the farm in each of the
Yes.
warehouses in case one burns down
was
or they
like-
lose
Yeah,
one.
the insurance company's like, that's what you're going to do.
They still have
They're like, Jesus.
whiskey from
Right,
each
so they're
farm.
not missing a year. If the whole, if year
Yeah.
2016 went up, whoops.
And
Sorry.
yeah, and they're building 2 more warehouses right now for more whiskey.
And they're palletized. So the casks are all on pallets. And
They can come in with the forklift basically.
and pull down, they literally, while we're there, pick that one, pull down 4 pallets, set them down, and in the pallets, one pallet was the virgin oak, one pallet was the bourbon refill, first fill, then there was the premium French, then there was a pallet that had the VDN. And they're like, yeah, it makes it easy, when we come out here and I say, hey, I want to pull samples from this for the sample room, see how it's going. Boom, forklift hooks them, pulls them down. They can pull their samples, put them back up. So, and I was like, Well, it looked.
Yeah, there we meet James, the warehouse manager, and he's the one operating the forklift.
And it's cold in there, and he's got short sleeve shirt on, and just a vest.
He had a vest on. Yeah.
I'm like, what? It's cold.
It looked warm.
I'm
vest.
chilled here.
I was cold.
Yeah, and he's like, Irish.
But we did get to taste from a farm, and this was about 3.5 years old, so technically it's whiskey.
Yes. Yep. They could have sold this.
They
flat
pulled
out
from
said
the
they're
fork.
not anywhere close to selling this
They're
yet.
not ready to yet.
Nope.
No. But I'll tell you what, 2 of them,
Oh yeah.
I think they could be
Oh,
sold.
you were like, you tasted one. That was
the ex-bourbon, first of all,
yeah, that
was delicious.
Good. That was.
And they had Oloroso sherry cask one.
And you were like, you could bottle that now. And they're like, it's
They were
gonna get
both
even
phenomenal.
better. Yeah, he's like, it's
Already.
going to get even better.
Yeah, 3.5 years.
Yeah. So.
And there's if I've got something usable, should be again
And
that
that was a
video
single
will be
cask.
that video will be in here. If we got anything, Ned pulling some of those samples for us from the warehouse.
First fill. So this is cask number 1723, 2016, Gerborn. I'm going to do all around the garden, like 30 there. Taking a bit more of a, this will be well worth to listen to the pop. Thank you. Oh, the garden, like a teddy bear. Just tinkly under there. Nice colour on this one. So this is virgin cask. It's in kind of a little over 3 years, so it's actually whiskey. So this is cask number 193. Whoa.
So is that one of those? Is that literally cask 107? As they've gone sequentially.
So we started with
So that's
one.
a very early one.
Yeah.
First batch.
First batch, we got 152 on the first load or something like that. So.
You're singing a tune there.
You wanted to?
Oh, did he not?
Oh God, no.
I thought maybe it was a tune his mom used to sing him when he.
No, do you know what I do?
What is it?
Did you ever hear All Around the Garden? No. It's a nursery rhyme. So can I have it into your hand for a second?
Ooh.
So you do it with kids. So it's all around the garden like a teddy bear. One step, two step, tickly under there. So what we'll do is we'll bring the glasses up and we'll do it. We'll do it here, if that's okay.
Sure.
Shall we taste?
We shall.
So American, Virgin, French, and VDN. This would have been filled probably about 71.5%, so it's probably about 68% or thereabouts now, 69% alcohol.
Honey.
Yeah. Wow.
Ooh. Yeah, keeps going.
Nice vanilla, citrus notes, tropical notes, sugars.
I got honeycomb. With that
Not
rich
honeycomb,
vanilla.
honeysuckle. This just over 3 years old.
Just over 3 years old.
So picture this in 2, 3 more
10.
years or 10 years. Yeah.
15.
Really, there's just a hint of youth in that on the tail end.
Yeah, on the tail end. But you can get the maltiness now on this as well. Now it's starting to open up there. Now you can.
Wow.
American Virgin.
Yeah. The wood, the oaky notes, especially in the finish.
A lot more of the bourbon type notes come
Yeah.
through. Cinnamons, caramels, oak, definite. I actually like the first fill over the version up there.
Yeah.
And it might be because it is more of that kind of Scotch profile, that lighter, those lemongrass, vanillas, citruses, tropicals.
The Irish style, you mean, not the Scotch.
Irish and Scotch.
The Waterford style.
That nose is jumping out of here.
So that's the French one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even have to.
Does it make it go ooh la la?
That's this
Yeah.
one, because the VDN is
The VDN is
the
there.
end one.
Does it make it go ooh la la?
Ooh, wee wee.
For those watching later, I wanted to get a jacket. They wouldn't let me. It is cold in here. They said it's not. They said this is nice springtime
Well, actually,
weather.
Bart said soft as.
Baby's breath. See, this has what I will get off of those wine finishes and things where I can taste that grape, but that slight sourness in the finish.
I got roasted peanut, which I usually only get with some peated. A little bit of sulfur. A little bit of sulfur left in that one.
The last one then, La Vidienne. So sweet fortified wine, so sherry, port, Riesal, Marsala. What did you have the other day?
Yeah, Marsala.
Marsala.
Yeah.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah. Fruity explosion.
We'll need to take that one with us.
That one's going on the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, that has the sherry notes that I like. I mean, along with the port or sherry, the raspberries, the dark fruits. Yeah.
So this kind of starts off as Je t'aime. Do you know the song? Je t'aime, and it goes into her name was Lola, she was a sugar. So you're not expected.
To her chair. She saw
Yeah.
me dancing back.
So it starts off with, and then it,
Yeah. A lot of spice on the front. Cinnamon,
Yeah,
nutmegs,
yeah,
real
that is-
ginger.
that is good.
I really like that first
Yeah.
fill.
Put
But
my name on that barrel. That one.
he wants to mark it as Bruno.
So let's we can close out the video anyway.
yeah.
Joining us was Grace, the agronomist.
Good.
Is that how you pronounce it? Agronomist.
Come on.
For Waterford?
Come on. Come on.
Now, real quick though, and so we make sure we get it right later. You worked for, is it the Maltster?
Maltster, yeah.
Before.
Minch malt, yeah.
Minch malt.
Mitch. Good job.
And you said
No.
you were a field walker. Crop walker. You go out and walk the crops and
Sounds
inspect
very
them.
zombie-ish.
Yeah, and wall crops.
And Ned, one of the head distiller.
No,
The head to
The
see.
head
head
distiller.
distiller. Okay. We had
So there's
to get
only
the
one.
term.
Yeah, yeah.
You're the head
Yeah,
distiller.
we made the mistake of saying Master Distiller. He said, "I'm no master."
Oh, no master
No
distiller.
Yeah, young Padawan here.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
head distiller.
Star Wars terminology.
Wax on, wax off.
Right. He likes it.
Young
Now,
grasshopper.
now come around.
And
James.
James
James,
brought these.
Oh,
I
James,
can't believe
glasses
the glasses
on.
on. We like those glasses.
You have to come around over here.
Come around. Come right in here. We're going to put you right here. You brought these down. We would have mucked that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been a disaster if we were bringing these down.
Loads of spillages.
That's
So
right.
James is the warehouse manager
Yep.
here in Ballygarn, where we have over 21,000 casks at the moment,
Yeah.
and he doesn't say much.
Ned keeps us busy.
Although you said before you were working here, you weren't really into whiskey.
No.
And we said that was probably a big hiring point because, yeah, I would have been. They'd be like, "Where's Bart? Lost somewhere. We're not sure where
well,
he's
you
at."
want a guy running the warehouse
Right.
that doesn't drink whiskey.
Right, there you
Really?
go.
Less stock loss.
Yes.
But you're getting into it,
Yeah.
and you have particular favourites.
Oh, I like the first Virgin American.
There you go.
Yeah,
really?
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Nice.
Woody taste.
Sweet tooth as well.
Nice.
I
Very
like sweet
good.
desserts.
Very good. Yeah. And a warm-blooded, short sleeves.
I know.
It's all the hard work.
I wanted my
like
coat.
that.
You wouldn't
Yeah.
let me get my coat.
No,
He's
we
got a
wouldn't
short
let him
sleeve
get-
shirt
yeah,
on.
We don't let him dress himself.
All right.
Great. All
I'm
right.
going to close out with this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scotch It, you Scotch guys, or Waterford It.
Yep.
Sure.
There you go.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Dummies.
See you guys. All right.
So
and
if we had anything, it was right there. You got
you
to
got
see
it. You saw it. Of course, we had it. It's good. Then we finished up with that final interview with Mark. And we're going to reference that where you can go watch that as well, because that's really its own thing. I'll tease that up.
One thing we haven't covered is that this is Irish whiskey. It's made in Ireland. The barley is grown in Ireland. Mark thinks that is a no-brainer. You shouldn't have to
Some of the-
import barley and to make Irish whiskey. And
Well, he stands clear and loud and proud. It's Irish whiskey. It's got Irish grain.
and it's made by people from Ireland.
Right. And
Everybody at the distillery is from Ireland.
and he's not trying to source the cheapest grain. He wants, because he believes in, again, the terroir, the traceability, and the transparency. The Holy Trinity is what he kept calling it. So, and he believes the terroir, that the region, because he was in the grape industry, the wine industry, I know it's great, for 20 years, and he got to see how a piece of land affected how the grapes,
Yeah.
which led to the wine, tasted.
Yeah.
And so now his experiment is to see what he can do with the barley.
Yeah, and another thing is they're all going to be single malts. typical Irish whiskey would be a pot still, where they're going to use malted barley and unmalted barley. Mark's not doing that. It's all malted barley. And he is not triple distilling, also, another kind of characteristic of Irish whiskey. He's only double distillation, so some of the difference there as far as what you may expect.
Right.
But
like your wife's fallen in love with Irish whiskey. She loves that triple distilled, smooth, and
yeah. I don't think she would be a fan of this. Maybe we'll see.
Be surprised. I don't know. There was
but I can tell you from the trip, I am definitely looking forward to their stuff that's coming out. From what they say, they want to keep it reasonably priced as well. $40 to $50 range, I believe, for most of their offerings. I mean, depending on which blend they go with, how many different types of wine casks. I'm sure, like Duggan Farms or Lakeside Farms, there's probably going to be several different bottles available. And they could be from a $30 range to $100.
Well, and sometimes there's a few we talked about where it's single farm, single malt, and you'll even know the farmer. Other ones, it can be a blend of this farm and this farm, and
I didn't think they were going to do that.
Yeah. My understanding is there
will
be.
Yeah.
Dang it! I hate that. I hate when people.
I know.
Yeah. Sure.
We talked about that.
Yeah. Sorry, I got hung up in the moment. My understanding is it's all about all the permutations. Because it's basically, even though there's 70, 80 farmers involved, it's about 40 farms per year. So that's 40 farms, a lot of times the same farmers, but there's some that drop off. There's new ones that come in. There's guys that win each year for what they're saying is, the highest quality, and they get a little award. But so you've got 40 farms. Sometimes that's changing from year to year. The 4 different woods, the percentages that go in there, and the type of casks they go into. And Mark talked about how much money he spent on wood. He said 30%.
I think he was around 30% of his budget.
His budget was quality wood, quality cask.
And most distilleries, it's around 5%.
Yeah, he said around 5-6. So he said that he wanted that, and he had a neat phrase too, or Ned did, that they're trying to make a quality spirit, and all 100% of that quality spirit goes into quality wood. So 100% of this quality spirit is going to be affected by 100% of the wood that it's going into.
Yeah.
So they don't want a great quality spirit going into a used up cask.
Right. Well, and Mark's philosophy is good barley. Barley is king, right?
Providence is all.
Providence is all. But, you start with good. If you don't start with good barley, you don't have good whiskey.
Right. Even if you have great wood,
if you don't have good wood,
right?
Yeah, you can't take a bad whiskey. You can't take a good whiskey, a good spirit, put it in bad wood. It's going to come out bad.
Get great whiskey.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. Take good spirit, put it in good wood, make great whiskey.
Yep. So we tasted the product. So again, we were not paid. Yes, they flew us out. They asked us, hey, what do you want to see? You can, as far as unless it's their, what do they call their HR, health and safety, I think. So as long as it's not a dangerous thing, you can do it. We're like, yep, we're not looking to do a dangerous thing. And they said, tell us where you want to go, what you want to see. We're not trying to hide anything. So we asked questions of everybody. And so I'm really looking forward to it. And I feel like I got an education. And again, tune into Seamus's part because we were privy to his mental perspective on this whole thing, which was very interesting.
Yep. So we'll have a separate interview with Seamus and a separate interview with Mark. So watch for those coming up. And
Scotch It or Irish It, you Irish gods.
Thank you, Waterford, for bringing us out.
There you go. It was a good time.
Dummies.